Welcome back, junior Egyptologists, to Lesson 3 of Doodling with Purpose, a step-to-step guide to learning to draw hieroglyphics, all 150 of the basic ones. Today we're actually getting to 3 of my very favorite glyphs to draw. And that's kind of actually important, because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then really why are you doing it? Life is too short to not enjoy what you're doing. And one of the reasons I love doing glyphs is because they are fun to draw. And the 3 that we're going to do today are particularly fun to draw because of some of the curves, some of the shapes, and they're kind of mid-range complicated. Not too hard, not too easy, but enjoyable none the same. And pretty soon you'll be knowing enough glyphs to be your very own pharaoh of your very own kingdom. Now, as a reminder, we are not going over how to read or speak in hieroglyphics in ancient Egyptian. We are just going over the actual drawing because it's important to master that before you go on to anything else. And in that vein, let's do a quick review of last week's glyphs because, again, you need to practice each week not only the 3 new ones, but your old ones as well. All right, so last week we did the hand, which starts with the thumb, goes around, curves for all 4 fingers, and you're done. And that's your D for the hand. Then we're going to do the snake, which is a Z sound, and then the horned viper, which is an F sound. All right. Now today, moving on to the new ones, we're going to start with the letter G proper. Now, the letter G is based on multiple ways. You can see it more curved, you can see it more straight, but I'm going to go over the basic version. You can always perfect it to your own way in time. Now, the letter G is a jar stand. It's not a jar. This is an ancient Egyptian jar. But in order to keep their jars cool from the sun so the water didn't get too hot, the ancient Egyptians innovated and created jar stands, like the one you see pictured here. Much like I said last week, hieroglyphics are a very Egyptian writing system, and it's based on things that were a big part of their culture, which is why you see things like jar stands represented in hieroglyphics, because jar stands, without them, they couldn't keep things cool in the sun. So things that were important to the Egyptians became important parts of their hieroglyphic language. All right, to draw the jar stand, we're going to start with the top, make 2 diagonals down, give it a base, and then the triangle inside to represent the air, or the negative space. Again, we're going to do a line at the top, 2 lines diagonal, a line across the bottom, and then a triangle, for the negative space. All right, our next glyph is the H glyph, the proper H, the H sound. Now, there is some contention among Egyptologists, not how this is drawn, but what it represents. Some say it represents the foundation of buildings or reed huts, based on the archaeological evidence they've found in the way buildings are formed. Others say it's not just a reed hut, but actually represents the foundation of a full building. And finally, some say it's a reed seat or a reed mat put together. But I guess the consensus is it is somehow a bunch of reeds put together. It's drawn like a labyrinth. Not this labyrinth, more like this labyrinth, with lots of curves here. So let me show you. The way we're going to draw it is up, across, down, over, and back up. Pretty simple. Up, over, down, down, and back up. All right, and that is how we draw our first H. Now we have another H. This one is more of a H sound, but this is a very important one because it is seen in a lot of temples and a lot of papyrus. It is a drawing of a flax plant. This is what the plant looks like when it's in bloom. But again, what the Egyptians would do is they would take this plant and dry it out, and it would become kind of a rope, essentially, a twine that they could use to bind all sorts of things. And the H sound is flax twisted into a little bit of a loop. Now, first I'm going to show you the wrong way to draw it. All right, that's important because this is a tricky one. What you don't want to do is do 3 circles and then a little tail. This is common, but it's not the way to draw it. Do not draw it like this. All right, and the reason we know this is because by studying papyrus scrolls, we can actually see the brush marks, and we know the way Egyptians would draw their hieroglyphs, which is why there's a right and wrong way to draw all of these, and why it's important to follow the correct way. All right, so we're going to go with kind of a question mark, back around, and through. Again, this one's a little tricky, so pay attention. A little bit of a backwards question mark, around, and through. Kind of fix the tail if you need. One more time. Up and around, follow through, and the tail. And fix it if you need. That is the correct way to do the flax H. I'm going to do it one more time because, again, this one is really tricky, but very common. And when you can master this one, you'll really feel good about your hieroglyphic doodling because this one's very rewarding to draw. I really like drawing this one. All right, so those were our 3 for today. Remembering that all hieroglyphics can look to the left or the right, but obviously some don't have that. Really, it's the animals that do, but the H maze kind of does. Each week we're going to do 3 more. Remember how important it is to go back and do the glyphs from previous weeks over and over again so that you can master it, because we're going to get to all 150, and you can't do it unless you keep in practice. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week for more Doodling with Purpose.